Here's Brody Brazil.
I wanted to take a couple minutes here in this video to compare what the Oakland A's are proposing for a brand new ballpark in Las Vegas compared to some of the other recent baseball and football stadiums that have been built or are right now being proposed across our country. Because it is interesting to have at least a baseline. And look, I understand other teams, other leagues, the way they're financed, what city municipalities are willing to give. It's all different, right? Across the board. Everybody's got a different situation, but it is kind of interesting to see where the baseline is, and maybe that helps you understand what the A's are asking for, why they're asking for it, what Las Vegas would think about providing in comparison to everybody else, and honestly, what Las Vegas has already done with Allegiant Stadium. So let's actually first begin with the A's reported proposal. And again, this is all my interpretation of quotes, yet to have the opportunity to speak directly to the A's about details of what they're trying to do. So I'm gathering all of this and repeating it, and I'm hoping that it's accurate based on the reporting of others. They want it to be ready in 2027. It's going to go right there at the corner of Dean Martin Drive and Tropicana Avenue. That's what they're planning here, right? They have an agreement to purchase this land. They've not purchased it yet. They have the ability to back out of this purchase if they do not get the $500 million in public money and public incentive for building this project. Now, just to go back here, they're saying the cost of this retractable roof stadium would be $1.5 billion, which is interesting because Allegiant Stadium has a fixed roof, but cost $1.9 billion. Now, it's also much bigger, so apples and oranges here, and that's going to be kind of a theme of this video. You'll see that not every project is the same, but we've also found that inflation in the last 5 years alone across all these projects has gone up about 25% for cost of construction. So the A's say right now $1.5 billion for a 30 to 32,000 seat retractable roof stadium. But what they want is $500 million in public money, basically tax credits that they can use. And I think, again, trying to understand what they're asking for here, I'll tell you this, it's not finalized and it may change, but from what I understand, they're also looking to reap all of the sales tax from this site to help pay for the cost. Now, I don't know if that goes into the $500 million and that's what they'll be receiving or if that's separate. That is not clear to me as an understanding, but it's also not finalized. So we can sit here and speculate, understand that none of this yet is actually in place to happen. So it is kind of loose and disjointed right now because it's not known. But that's what the A's are asking for on that site. Okay, compare it to what just got approved in Nashville. I think, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? They've approved a stadium, at least the construction and the cost of it, that's going to be ready in 2027 for the Titans. It's going to cost $2.1 billion, right? So this is the first, well, it's not the first because SoFi Stadium, as you'll see, is $5.5 billion. But now we're getting from the $1 billion and $1.5 billion to now we're getting into $2 billion venues on the regular here. They say it's going to take 24 to 36 months under construction, and they just got approved. And I believe it's either the city of Nashville or the state of Tennessee for $1.26 billion of public money. So the Titans are going to chip in some. The NFL has that loan incentive program. Obviously, that'll take place. But of the $2.1 billion, it's going to cost taxpayers $1.26 billion to fund it. That's how they want to do it. It was largely contested, but it was approved. Okay, so that by far is the largest public tax subsidy we've ever seen go towards a professional sports stadium. Okay, so that was the most recent one. Now let's get back into some baseball stadiums. What I'm going to do here is give you some baseball stadiums of recent times and then go into some football venues. Again, because of size, because of retractable roofs, obviously we're not talking about NBA arenas. That's a totally different ball of wax. But Globe Life Field was completed in 2020 at a cost of $1.2 billion. Is it the most aesthetically pleasing venue across our country? On the inside, it looks nice. Yeah, on the outside, it has been critiqued as looking like a Home Depot. I'm not trying to be mean here or insulting. Maybe it fits the landscape. I've yet to see it in person. Sometimes photos don't do things justice, or maybe at night it lights up really well. But it cost $1.2 billion. It took 31 months, and it was subsidized with $500 million in public money. So there you go. This is a more accurate representation. 2020, the construction from 2017 and 18 through the end of or the beginning of the pandemic. So you can understand that it probably took a little bit longer and might have cost a little bit more, but this is a $1.2 billion facility in Texas where construction should be cheap. Now let's also reverse here to 2017. That's when Atlanta's Truist Park was constructed to the tune of $672 million. Now, you're saying, how did they do this so effectively or cost efficiently? Like, it's just the way things were. 2017 was now 6 years ago. Things were a lot more affordable back then. $672 million for all of that. Plus, look what they've done there in right field. That battery area that people talk about. Again, I've never been there in person, but you can clearly see what they've done, creating a fan atmosphere, an environment for pre and post game, and really building a neighborhood as part of the ballpark. $672 million is what it cost to construct. It took 29 months, and $300 million of public funding went its way. Now, again, in the bigger picture, $300 million is something that, like, the city of Oakland has already secured in infrastructure costs alone for Howard Terminal. So let's put this side by side here for just a second. The city of Oakland, through state and federal grants, has secured $375 million for infrastructure alone. Not for the cost of the ballpark, but for infrastructure alone at Howard Terminal. That's all it took in Atlanta, public money, to get a $672 million ballpark built. And again, this was completed in 2017. It just goes to show you how, if you look back in time for the A's, this would have been so much easier had they started construction on something in 2015 rather than trying to start construction on it here in 2024 or beyond. Things were a lot easier just a couple years ago. Let's take it back to 2012. Now you've got like a stadium in Miami, Lone Depot Park, with a retractable roof. I don't think they cut too many corners on this one. They spent a ton. And back then, that was a whopping $634 million. Took 32 months, but wow, they got $507 million of public money in Florida. So that number was big back then. 507, I mean, right now, the A's are asking for $500 million plus from the state of Nevada and from Clark County. But again, 2012 was 11 years ago, and when this project, I'm assuming if it took 3 years to do, we're talking about 2009 money, like with that recession when all of that was approved. Okay, so let's switch gears here. We're going to go into football mode. We're also going to go right into Las Vegas mode. Allegiant Stadium, completed in 2020, was initially supposed to cost $1.5, ended up costing $1.9 billion. Took 32 months to complete, and with hotel taxes that were arranged that apparently are not sitting well entirely across the board. I mean, there's some proponents of it, I'm sure, but there are some people with regret. But hotel taxes are making up $750 million of public money that's gone to pay for Allegiant Stadium. But just a perspective, right? This is about a mile away from where the A's want to build, and it cost $1.9 billion. It seats like twice as many as the baseball stadium would, but does not have a retractable roof. Is a much larger plot of land. Also comes with the whole portable field installation. In fact, you can see it kind of right there in the corner. The field, slides in, slides out, real grass. But this was a $1.9 billion project. Started in 2017, completed in 2020. So it's a comp, right? Like, this is like real estate. If you're buying a house, you want to know what the comps are. Here's what other situations are doing, and that's $750 million. I mean, now the A's are asking for $500 million. Like, Las Vegas all of a sudden is getting into that $1 billion commitment of public funding for professional sports venues. I should also tell you that T-Mobile Arena, which is right around the corner from Allegiant Stadium, was zero public funding. It was all paid for by the Golden Knights owner. All right, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, Inglewood to be precise. In fact, there is the old Great Western Forum right above it in the photo there. Completed in 2020. Cost hang on, $5.5 billion. $5.5 billion. I have not been there yet either. What is inside there for $5.5 billion? Every seat better have a screen and a refrigerator. Wow. $5.5 billion. Took 45 months to complete. But here's the shocker. Like, zero public dollars. Zero. Now, it hosts 2 teams, and they got a little bit of a kickback from the, way to finance it, but zero public dollars. But that's California. They were not going to spend $1. They were not going to spend a dime. So zero public dollars at a cost of $5.5 billion. So of all the things I'm going to show you here, these are the most amazing numbers. These are the ones that go, whoa, 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 whoa. So this one's unique, but this is an example of how something got done. And then in Atlanta, there's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, done in 2017. So we're starting to go back in time here, but it's got that cool design. My goodness. I mean, I thought SoFi Stadium looked cool. Look at this place. And it's got like the iris type retractable roof. So like the center of it kind of opens up like the iris of a camera, or how a flower kind of opens up with sunshine. Completed in 2017, took more than 3 years. So if you're starting this in 2013 or early 14, I mean, it gives you an idea at that time to go forward with this project. It ended up costing $1.6 billion. And it took $700 million of public funding to get this one complete. Like, that's a large proportion, right? So we're seeing here various different numbers. Some places kick in a third of the cost, publicly. Some places are like this where it's basically half. $700 million of $1.6 billion. You're coming up on the halfway point of total cost. I do have to say, though, of all the buildings we've seen, that was pretty cool. That is very unique. And then last but not least, home of the Vikings, US Bank Stadium, completed in 2016, took 2.5 years. So we're talking, again, earlier money here. $1.06 billion seems like a steal at this point for that cost of construction, how big it is and how many seats. But again, this was a different time period, right? The numbers were much different back then. Even back then, they got $500 million in public money, and it took 30 months to complete. So that gives you an idea and a look at baseball stadiums and football stadiums, various different projects, which are similar to what the A's are proposing in Las Vegas. Also, you can kind of get an idea now of what the A's were proposing at Howard Terminal and how that compares to some of the other projects here. And let me just say that, it's going to be an issue across our country and in professional sports in coming decades. Once cities say we're not putting forward any public money to do this. And a lot of places already have, including Oakland. And I totally understand it. Not against it at all. But the deal is, in sports, it happens in some places where subsidies are granted, and then other places say absolutely not, no chance. So what is professional sports going to do? How are they going to create a standard? Otherwise, pro sports will only exist in select geographies across the country. They don't want that either, right? Sports cannot afford to have that happen, so they'll have to figure this out. This is not going to get fixed today. This is not going to get fixed with this issue, but this is something that sports has to figure out. How are we going to operate in both these worlds and not have all of our teams moving to places where they can get stuff for free? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thumbs up on this video. Hey, you made it here all the way to the end. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so that I can see you next time.